Hello everyone, I am Dr. Atesi Rai, Assistant Professor of Physics, MLR Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. Welcome back to the lecture series on Advanced Engineering Physics where I was given a lecture on lasers. So today I will discuss about this population inversion and pumping mechanism in laser. So I will go through Boltzmann distribution formula, then what is this population inversion, then what is pumping, then I will discuss about different types of pumping, then a comparative analysis between different types of pumping, and then relative energy efficiency. Before knowing about what is pumping, so already previous lecture I told a little bit about this Boltzmann distribution law or this Boltzmann distribution of energy, and already we have used this formula for this Einstein coefficient derivation. So whenever we are considering laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So we have to know about this stimulated emission. Already I have discussed stimulated emission is the process where this atom is going from higher energy level to lower energy level with the supply of external photon, and in this process two photons are emitted for a single atomic level transition. So here it is very much important to know how many number of atoms are there in the higher energy level. Let us consider this two energy levels E1 and E2, and number of atoms are N1 and N2. We need to know how many number of atoms are there in a specific energy level. So to know that, we can take the help of this Boltzmann's distribution formula, which is Ni is proportional to e to the power minus Ei by kT. That means number of atoms in a specific energy level having energy Ei is equal to this much. That means if you can see, it is proportional to e to the power minus Ei by kT. That means this number of atoms decreases exponentially as we are increasing this energy value. So this is how it looks like. So if we will take the population means number of atoms in specific energy level, that can be known as the population of that particular energy level, and along x-axis if we are taking the energy, that time it will decrease as we are increasing energy. You can see as we are increasing energy, this number density, it is decreasing exponentially with increasing energy. So we can consider like this also. If this is energy E1, this will be N1, number of atoms in that, and if we are taking a higher energy E2, then we can see this will be N2. So number of atoms will be decreasing. N3, energy is E3. So here I am taking the number of atoms, and here I am considering the energy. So as this energy increases, we can see the number of atoms are decreasing. So this law is known as the Boltzmann distribution formula. So from this we can find the relative population between two energy levels. So Ni is proportional to minus Ei by kT. So let us consider two energy levels E1 and E2. Now I am considering two energy level E1 and E2. I want to know what is the relative population between these two energy levels. So this let us consider E2 and E1, which is having two energy levels, and N1 and N2 are the number of atoms in that particular energy level. So this N1 will be, let us equate it to some proportionality constant N0. I can write N1 is equal to N0 e to the power minus E1 by kT, and N2 will be N0 e to the power minus E2 by kT. So I can write this N2 by N1, which is known as the relative population. This is known as relative population. We can find out the expression for this relative population is equal to this will be n naught e to the power minus E2 by kT divided by n naught e to the power n2 by n1 we are finding. N naught e to the power minus E1 by kT. So it will be where K is the Boltzmann constant. K is the Boltzmann constant. Which value is 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 23 joule per Kelvin, and T is the temperature in Kelvin scale and EI is the energy. So here n naught will be cancelled out and we can write that e to the power minus E2 minus E1 divided by kT. So if we are taking E2 minus E1 is equal to h nu, which is the energy of the photon. The difference between the energy of these two energy level is equal to the energy of a photon, which is equal to h nu. We can write the relative population is equal to minus h nu by kT. So this is the expression for relative population between two different energy levels having energy E1 and E2. Now what is laser? Laser is light amplification by stimulated emission. In order to get laser, the stimulated emission process must dominated. That means we need more number of atoms in the higher energy level. Stimulated emission already we have discussed in the last lecture. This is like E2, E1, atom is going from higher energy to lower energy. Whenever this light will be fall on it. But if the atom is in lower energy, what will happen? So if atom is in lower energy, that time whenever photon will be emitted on it, it will absorb the photon. It will absorb the photon and it will gain that energy and it will go to the higher energy level. That time we can't get this laser light. That's why we must, in order to get this laser, we must have more number of atoms in the higher energy level. So that's why we need a particular thing which is known as population inversion. So you can see here in this Boltzmann's law what we told. So this is the relative population. That means what has happened, this number of atoms, like it is decreasing exponentially with energy. Number of atoms are decreasing exponentially with increase in energy. Okay. That means number of atoms in the lower energy state is always more than the number of atoms in the higher energy state. But in order to get this laser, what we need? We need number of atoms in the higher energy state must be more than the number of atoms in the lower energy state. So in general, this N1 is greater than N2. Let us consider two energy level again. Number of atoms N1, N2, energy E1 and E2, and E2 is greater than E1. That time what happens? According to Boltzmann distribution law, this N1 is greater than N2. So this is in general. But in order to get laser, or the condition for stimulated emission is N2 must be greater than N1. This is the condition for stimulated emission. So in order to get this condition, we have to just inverse the population. This mechanism is known as population inversion. This population inversion is a process where we are making more number of atoms in the higher energy level in compared to the lower energy level. And in order to get this population inversion, we need specific mechanism which is known as pumping. So what is this pumping? Pumping is the method of getting this population inversion, or this is the method where we are raising the atom number of atoms in the higher energy level compared to the lower energy level. So primary pumping categories are optical pumping, electrical pumping, then inelastic atom-atom collision and some chemical pumping method. These are some main primary pumping methods. Let us consider one by one. What is this optical pumping? Optics term is related to light. That means here we are achieving this population inversion by giving some external light source. So some of the example we can give as this Nd:YAG laser or this ruby laser. In these two kind of lasers we are using this optical pumping, where you are using this. In ruby laser we use xenon flash lamp in order to excite this atoms from lower energy level to higher energy level to initiate the stimulated emission process. So this is optical pumping. And in electrical pumping, from the name itself it is clear that by using some external electric power or some electric source, we are making this pumping method. So what we are doing here, the active medium atoms are excited by electrical discharge or high density current within the gain medium. So the example of this pumping, like in carbon dioxide laser, mostly we initiate the pumping method by using this electrical pumping. Then also we use the help of this inelastic atom-atom collision. So let us consider the third mechanism, which is inelastic atom-atom collision. So what happens in this inelastic atom-atom collision? So here what happens, first let us consider this process. So what we do, first we are using this electrical pumping or direct electron excitation. So this is also known as direct electron excitation. Direct electron excitation. So by using this method, what we are doing, first there are two atoms, the mixture of two molecules or two atoms we take in such kind of lasers mostly. So what happens, we have two mixtures, the mixture of A and B. So what happens, first A will gain that electron and it will get excited. So it will absorb the energy of that electron and it will gain some extra energy, and A will go to the excited state A star. This is the excited state. Excited state of A. So before A was in the ground state, it absorbed the energy of the electron and it goes to the excited state. Then after what is happened, now A is excited. That A star, which is the excited state of atom A, it will interact with atom B. Now what will happen, it will transfer the extra energy what it have gained by this interacting with that electron, that will transfer that energy to atom B. So that is known as inelastic atom-atom collision. So that time what will happen, again A will go to the ground state because that extra energy it gave to B, and B will gain that extra energy. Now B will get excited. So in this method we are getting a excited state of B. Mostly here B, whatever the B atom, that is the active medium or that active center for that laser. So in this process, by inelastic collision, we can excite this atom B indirectly. So again, already I have told the example is carbon dioxide laser. This carbon dioxide laser, we are using a mixture of this carbon dioxide, nitrogen and helium. So here what happens, this nitrogen, first nitrogen will interact with electron and it will get excited. Then after this excited nitrogen will interact with the ground state of this carbon dioxide and it will excite this carbon dioxide atom, and nitrogen will go to the ground state. And the fourth process is this chemical method. So what happens in this chemical method, energy is released through exothermic chemical reaction directly populating the excited energy state. And let us consider this optical pumping system. Already I have told, here we are using, this is the ruby laser. This is the picture of a ruby laser. Here you can see there is a glass tube which is, so center ruby rod is there. This red color rod is the ruby rod, and here there is a light here which is helically surrounding this ruby rod. So whenever this power, we are giving this power supply from here, that is the xenon flash lamp. So that flash lamp will on, and that will help this ruby laser to go from lower energy level to the excited state, and it then after this ruby crystal will achieve this population inversion. And mostly this kind of pumping method, which is optical pumping, is efficient for 3 and 4 level laser system. And this is the electric discharge tube. So by using some DC power supply, as I have discussed, we are exciting this atoms from lower energy to higher energy level. And this example is some helium neon laser. This is one of the example of this. Also argon laser is one of the example of this, and this achieve population inversion through collision with electrons, and it allow for compact and continuous laser operation. So already I told in that ruby laser we will get a 3 level laser where we are getting pulsed mode, but here we can get this continuous mode of laser. Then this chemical pumping method, what happens, like hydrogen fluoride laser is one of the example for this chemical pumping method. So what happens here? So here in chemical pumping, population inversion is produced by the energy released in an exothermic chemical reaction. This makes them ideal for high power weaponized or industrial laser. So already I told hydrogen fluoride laser is one of the example. So what happens here? So here this reaction between hydrogen and fluorine atom create excited hydrogen fluoride molecules that emit this infrared radiation. Then the next process is carrier injection pumping. So what happens in carrier injection pumping? Mostly we are using this in semiconductor laser. So here in semiconductor laser we are taking on PN junction, and this is also known as this injection pumping. And what we do here, we do electrons from this N region and holes from the P region recombine at the junction, releasing energy as photons. So here P-type semiconductor, and here we have N-type semiconductor, PN junction. Here we will have holes as the majority charge carriers, and here we have electrons as the majority charge carriers. So yes, this electrons from this N region and holes from the P region, it will recombine at the junction, and this energy or photons will be produced. So whenever electrons and photons holes can be represented as E plus, it will combine, it will produce energy. And this method is highly efficient and allow for miniature laser found in modern electronics, like small lasers we can produce by using this semiconductor lasers. Then some special pumping methods are like thermal pumping, where we use a rapid heat transfer of temperature changes to excite molecules, often used in gas dynamics lasers, where hot gas expands through a nozzle. And next process is this gas dynamic pumping. So here a variant of thermal pumping, where the population inversion occurs due to the differential relaxation rate of molecule state during supersonic expression. And next is this electronic beam pumping. What happens in this electronic beam pumping? So here it uses a high speed electron from an accelerator to ionize the excited gas medium, and it will allow a very high energy density. So this is the picture which is for this electron beam pumping. So we can see here by some pulsed power we are using some highly energetic electrons, and then after we can get pumping in this whole process. And if we will consider about high energy pumping sources, so we can consider about this X-ray pumping and nuclear pumping. So in X-ray pumping, what happens here? High energy X-rays can be used to pump inner cells electrons of atoms. So this is highly specialized and often requires nuclear explosion or synchrotrons as a source of trigger secondary laser action. And in nuclear pumping also, like a direct excitation of the laser medium by fission fragments of neutrons from a nuclear reactor This method explores extremely high power output for research and strategic applications. So these two, like X-ray pumping and nuclear pumping, these are some high energetic pumping sources. Let us do a comparative analysis between different type